1 Samuel chapter 5. And the Philistines took the ark of God, and brought it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod. When the Philistines took the ark of God, they brought it into the house of Dagon, and set it by Dagon. And when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of the Lord. And they took Dagon, and set him in his place again. And when they arose early on the morrow morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord. And the head of Dagon and both the palms of his hands were cut off upon the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left to him. Therefore neither the priests of Dagon, nor any that come into Dagon's house, tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod unto this day. But the hand of the Lord was heavy upon them of Ashdod, and he destroyed them, and smote them with emerods, even Ashdod and the coasts thereof. And when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said,
The ark of the God of Israel shall not abide with us, for his hand is sore upon us, and upon Dagon our God.
They sent therefore and gathered all the lords of the Philistines unto them, and said,
What shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel?
And they answered,
Let the ark of the God of Israel be carried about unto Gath.
And they carried the ark of the God of Israel about thither. And it was so that after they had carried it about, the hand of the Lord was against the city with a very great destruction. And he smote the men of the city, both small and great, and they had emerods in their secret parts. Therefore they sent the ark of God to Ekron. And it came to pass, as the ark of God came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying,
They have brought about the ark of the God of Israel to us, to slay us and our people.
So they sent and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines, and said,
Send away the ark of the God of Israel, and let it go again to his own place, that it slay us not and our people.
For there was a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of God was very heavy there. And the men that died not were smitten with the emerods, and the cry of the city went up to heaven.
Now that brings us to chapter 5 here, and actually what we see is the captured ark was placed in the house of Dagon, idol of the Philistines, and the idol fell over and broke. And in fear, they sent the ark to Gath, and then it was transferred to Ekron. They thought they had something good on their hands, and then when every time they'd bring it into a place, the idol of Dagon would fall over. Now, I want to submit this to you. I don't think you'll find this in any commentary, and I certainly could be wrong, no question about that. But I'd like for you to note this, that when the ark of the Lord was brought in, the idol of Dagon, well, it fell over and broke. Nothing was left there, but the stump of Dagon was left. And I believe that this reveals that God has a real sense of humor. The idol of Dagon would fall over and would break. And then they'd move it to another place, and the idol there would fall over. And I think that this reveals the Lord has a real sense of humor doing this sort of thing. It really annoyed the Philistines. Didn't accomplish too much, but they see that there's no merit in them having that ark, that's for sure. And they ask the question in verse 8 of chapter 5, What shall we do with the ark of God of Israel? And they answered, Let the ark of the God of Israel be carried about unto Gath. And I do not mean to be irreverent. They're passing the buck. They wanted that ark. When they got it, they didn't want it, you see. And now they pass it up to Gath, and when Gath got it, and they had the same experience with it, well, they passed it on up to Ekron, and they just keep passing it around. And so what is going to happen now? They're going to have to get it back into Israel. And so in chapter 6, the Philistines returned the ark to Israel, and they put it on a cart. Now, nothing's going to happen to them for putting it on a cart. And you know why? Well, very candidly, they didn't know any better. God's not going to hold them responsible. But Israel knew better. And we're going to find out later on a man put his hand on the ark, and he's smitten dead. And what did that mean? God is saying, you know better. I do think God holds you. You'll be judged by the light that you have. That doesn't mean you'll be saved. But it does mean this, that every people have enough light that they're not living up to the light they have. And therefore, to be judged even by the light you have doesn't mean you're saved at all. It means that you're lost. You see, God said in Romans, the 2nd chapter, that the Gentiles that have not the law, they'll be judged without the law, with the light that they have. But that doesn't mean they're saved. It means they're lost, because no man lives up to the light that he has.